I think we're going to get started.
I see here, right?
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. They're going to stand right here.
Okay.
Because at 6, we'll be able to mingle again after. I love that you're mingling. Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. Awesome. Thank you all for coming out. I realize it's a busy Friday night, and you have come to the second annual Environmental Stewardship Mix and Mingle, and we're thrilled that you're here, and we're really thrilled all of the organizations that are presenting tonight. I am Katie Mann, and I'm a co-chair for the Hartford Conservation Commission, and we also have Chris Beetham here and Holly Henderson here from the Conservation Commission, and Matt Osborne from our town as our town liaison. And we have 11 other groups tonight who are going to be presenting. And this is like a speed dating for environmental projects, which are all worthy of at least an hour. I mean, the presentations that you all the presenters put together are a snippet of the inordinate amount of work that goes on every year. And it's basically a teaser. So then you guys were all mingling before, and if you have time afterwards, we have a half hour for you to mingle and get a little bit deeper. So we have 12 presenters, and each will get 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and they're going to be highlighting the projects and volunteer opportunities here in Hartford for you to get involved in and just understand. And we're really excited that everyone is here. So I wanted to give a shout out for Jam, who's recording here tonight. And so this whole thing will be on the Hartford Conservation Commission website to look at after, along with the presentations, and also the Upper Valley Food Co-op donated the baked goods in the back. So make sure you get one if you haven't already. And without further ado, one other thing, we're going to hold all questions because of the really tight time frame that everyone's on, and we want to honor the 5 minutes for every presenter, and then get back to mingling so you can get those questions answers directly from each one of our presenters. So. Now, without further ado, I will turn it over to Dana Williams, thank you. I have here Dana Williams from the Vermont Center for Ecostudies, and you can just give me a nod.
Okay, I have a lot of animations, so.
Okay, great.
How far do I have to put?
Just yeah.
Okay. I feel like I'm holding a bouquet. So it's funny that you said it's like speed dating, because that's exactly what my coworkers said today at lunch. They're like, oh, you have that speed dating thing tonight, right? Someone actually thought I was going speed dating, so, you know. All right, ready? Okay, so my name is Dana Williams. I'm the Community Science Coordinator at the Vermont Center for Ecostudies, and we're an organization that works all across the state, but our main office is actually just here in White River Junction. We're right up Route 5 on the border of Norwich and dangerously close to King Arthur. So who are we? Well, we're a group of scientists who are really excited about the diversity of life in Vermont. And for the past 18 years, our research nonprofit has been monitoring, managing, discovering, and helping to conserve wildlife species, including birds who raise their families at the very tippy tops of our highest mountains, to salamanders who spend their springs in our vernal pools, and a whole bunch of other stuff in between. So we like to ask questions about conservation, but in order to do conservation, first you need to know 2 things. The first being which species are here, and the second being where are they? But our science team is only about 15 people, which is not a lot of people to cover the entirety of Vermont. And so we rely on our volunteer community scientists, people like you, who go out and help collect our data so that we can answer these questions. And since we have so many projects that we work on in Vermont, tonight I'm going to tell you the story of just one. And that's the Vermont Butterfly Atlas. Now, this is a 5-year study to try and document every single butterfly species that is in Vermont and also where they live. So this is the second Butterfly Atlas. The first one was in the early 2000s, and it brought together over 150 butterfly enthusiasts to document 36,000 individual butterflies and discovering new species and putting together the first statewide database to look at what threats our butterfly populations face. And now, 20 years later, we're hoping that we're going to get new data that's going to tell us how our butterfly populations are standing up to new threats like climate change. So I'm going to tell you the story of the hackberry emperor. Now, the hackberry emperor is this little fast-flying butterfly that loves floodplain forests and has this really weird habit of hanging out upside down, except it's not upside down in that picture. Oh, back. No worries. So the hackberry emperor lives all across the eastern United States, but up here in Vermont, we're right up at the northern edge of the range. And so they're relatively rare. In fact, in the first 5 years of the Butterfly Atlas, that first one, we only saw 11 records across the entire state. But as temperatures are changing and ranges are shifting, we decided in the second Butterfly Atlas, we were going to try again. Now, when our volunteers are out every summer looking for butterflies, we like to send out a newsletter called the Chrysalis. This helps us keep our volunteers with information about what butterflies are flying when, and helps pass out information about how to identify these rare butterflies. And when we sent this out, one of our volunteers said, you know what? Oh, sorry. What we sent out with the rare butterflies in 2023 was the hackberry emperor, so we highlighted them. And Sharon said, you know what? I'm going to find a hackberry emperor, no matter what it takes. But of course, how do you go about finding a butterfly that's relatively rare? Well, Sharon knew that the hackberry emperor, like many other butterflies, has a host plant. And that's a particular plant that's pretty much the only thing that their caterpillars will eat. So she said, you know what? If I find that host plant, I bet it's pretty likely that I'm going to be able to find the butterfly. So anyone want to take a guess on what, sorry, very specific animation style. Does anyone want to take a guess on what that host plant is?
Hackberry.
Hackberry, right. So if you are like me or Sharon wasn't sure what a hackberry was. And so she went to her field guides and she looked up and found that in New England we have one species of hackberry, which is the common hackberry. It looks like this. The bark is very deeply furrowed. The leaves have this kind of offset base and this long oval kind of shape. And they really love floodplains. But you know, there's only so many weekends in the summer, and there's a lot of floodplains in Vermont. So how was she going to find it? But she had a shortcut. And she turned to the community scientists of the app iNaturalist and looked up where they had been seeing the common hackberry. Oh, I forgot to tell you that Sharon is a physician at UVM, which is important for this next part, which is that the common hackberry is most often seen around Burlington. And that's because it turns out that they planted common hackberry along the main street of UVM. And so with her new ID of hackberry and her map of hackberries, she went out and on her work breaks and walked up and down the main street of UVM looking for butterflies. And after 5 months of doing this, she found her hackberry emperor. So while there have been more sightings of hackberry emperor across the state, including a couple around here down in Heartland and also up in Hanover, thanks to Ben, who found the one in Hanover, there has never been one found here in Hartford. But there are hackberries here.
There are. I've seen
Yeah.
every year.
And so my challenge to you is any one of you here could be the first person to report a hackberry emperor in Hartford. All right, so if that story of conservation discovery excites you, then I'm happy to tell you that there are plenty of other projects that we work on at VCE. And whether you're an expert birder who is excited to get up and hike up a mountain at 4 a.m., or if you're someone who's never even thought about there being 7 bumblebees in your garden, we have a way for you to contribute to conservation in Vermont. So if you are interested in learning more about our projects, learning how to use one of these apps, want to see a local guide, ID guide for species, or just want to tell me a cool nature story that you have, like the hackberry emperor, then you can either visit our website at vtecostudies.org or come talk to me at the table.
And we have the Hartford Garden Friends next. Nancy Davis.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you can stay about right there.
Right here? Yep. Okay. I'm Nancy Davis. I'm a member of the Hartford Garden Friends, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we do and try to recruit some of you to help us in our efforts. We were formed in the summer of 1991 with the purpose of stimulating knowledge and love of gardening, participating in civic beautification, and promoting conservation and friendship. Today, we care for over 20 plots of land in Hartford. That's actually a lot, given our small number of mostly older ladies that do this. Originally, we concentrated on having things that would grow well in this climate and would have color throughout the whole season. And we did that for 30 years. But recently, we started to really concentrate on incorporating native flowers, shrubs, and pollinators into our garden. The rock garden at the bottom of exit 11 off of I-91 is one place where you can see more natives and pollinators, as is the Briggs Garden and the gardens here at Bugbee. Native black-eyed Susans, purple coneflowers, purple flowering raspberry, butterfly weed, trumpet vine, red bee balm, and purple perennial salvia are examples of the natives that seem to grow well in our gardens. We can't have anything that's too big because most of our gardens are very small. The Garden Friends have taken on several new projects in recent years, even though that has stretched the capacity of our volunteers. In 2022, we partnered with the Bugbee Center here to work on the gardens around the center, and that partnership has really flourished. The Garden Friends prepare the gardens in the spring and buy the plant, choose the plants and plant the plants and do the deadheading. And Bugbee volunteers help with the watering and the mulching and some of those projects that are essential to keeping the gardens up. And the seniors who come here and walk in through this back door, they really appreciate all of the flowers that are there, and especially when they see things that are actually not natives, but things that they loved as when they were younger and that they grew in their gardens. So we try to incorporate in those things special flowers, moss roses and gazanias, a few things like that really hit their hearts. In 2024, we worked with the Monument Committee and the Quechee Garden Club to put in plantings at the base of the new World War I and World War II monument in the Veterans Park. And last summer, the landscaper put in a wonderful array of petunias. They looked absolutely beautiful, but that's not sustainable financially, and it also wasn't consistent with our effort to have a few more natives and more perennials. So we have now planted, we had a work day, we planted those gardens, and over the next few years they should flourish. Already we've had lots of comments from people when we were working down there in the park that it was really nice to have the gardens coming as well as the new monument. You'll also notice in the Veterans Park, if you take a walk down there, that the flying geese have been cleaned up. We had a work day to free the geese last summer, and they really look nice now, especially if you see them when the sun is on them, which, gosh, it was when I took this picture. Yeah, this one. When I took this picture, it was the middle of the day, but it's getting longer now. And I just love them when the sun is on them. They remind us about the 5 branches of our military and the people who have gone off to fight for our democracy. The next project that we took on this year, this is the last one, is there's a garden near the West Hartford Library, which had become really overrun with weeds. It was a memorial for 3 young servicemen who had died unexpectedly, though not in the line of service. The garden got wiped out during Irene. It was moved across the street, but it needed so much TLC. So we put down pea stone to make sure the weeds didn't overgrow it. And now it's possible to actually sit down and see the memorial stone and enjoy the plantings. We are always looking for people to join our group. So I've told you what kinds of things we do, and whether you know nothing about gardening and would like to learn something, or if you know a lot about it, we welcome everybody. And there's a way you can participate regardless of your knowledge or ability. So if you're interested in helping, I have a clipboard over there, and please give us your email and we'll keep you on the list so you know what's going on. We think our town looks a lot better with flowers. So if you agree, hopefully you can become part of the solution of mitigating the negative effects of climate change and provide more places little tiny places where lots of people can see butterflies and birds and insects and help them to thrive. So we're funded by private donations from individuals and businesses, and we depend on those in order to keep our gardens looking beautiful. Thank you.
We've got the tree board here. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes.
All right, thanks.
I'm the chair of the tree board. I just stepped down, and we have a new tree board chair, Jasmine Gayette. Not him. This is Alan Haenel, famous playwright.
And I'm up here to provide moral support to Jeff and to read the vision statement of the tree board. The tree board's vision is to support an energetic community tree stewardship program to promote education, tree planting, maintenance, ecological awareness, and to influence the visual beauty of the town of Hartford through the redevelopment of an historic tree canopy. Our mission is the tree board's mission is to plant and maintain public trees and advocate community tree stewardship. And I just want to say, we have voted the most fun board in the town of Hartford, so join us.
Thank you very much, Alan. Take a seat. Before I get any further, I wanted to mention that Jody Turner, one of the first members back in 2001, did this design, and we sell these T-shirts for $25 a piece. I'll take your orders after the meeting. So one of the things we do is tree walks, and we do 3 every year. Last year, in the spring, we went to the Veterans Administration. Oops, sorry, can't wave this around, right? The Veterans Administration, and then in the summertime, this is Hartford Point Cemetery, and then we worked with the co-op in Ben Lay. I think he's here someplace, and he helped organize this group to go to the town hall and to Lemon Point. Next. Oh, you're there already. One of the other things that I really enjoy doing is we get rootstock in the spring, and you see this, we're planting the rootstock, which are very, very fine stems, and they have just little tiny bits of roots on them, and we transplant them into these pots. And then, as you can see later, we take them out and we sell them at our Arbor Day sale. Last year, we sold like $3,300 worth of stuff, but a lot of those things, the items that we do sell, comes from Northern Nurseries, which is a wholesale place. But they let us run through there and take a lot of perennials so that we can. That's actually the next slide. But this is kind of a chart of what was in our nursery a couple of years, 2023, with tea for tamarack, gray birch, arrowwood here. we were using some of these other nannyberry and serviceberry shrubs for a riparian project, because we took out the invasives like barberry and buckthorn. Next. So this is our, every year we do an Arbor Day sale, and like I said, we had a record sale last year, thanks to John Bowden for all his pots that he gave us, put us over the top. And so most of these things are from these items come from Northern Nurseries, and then we bring in all our trees. There's like 78 trees, different types of trees that we sell for around $20 a piece, and that's where most of our profit comes from, because our actual profit was like $1,300. And next slide. This is one of our projects. This was a project in 2023. We reported out on it on 2024. 1 minute. Okay. These are some of our helpers. I think Leah's here and Alan's there. And anyway, this plastic you see is covering where this knotweed, Japanese knotweed. We tried cutting it, but it just grew back thicker and thicker. You see how thick it is now? And these are the trees that we grew in our nursery, and we cut the barberry, buckthorn, and everything, and multiflora rose, got rid of them. Next. And one education thing we did was to teach people about the dangers of EAB, but it wasn't very well attended. Next. Then we also do a lot of tree planting. This is our first tree, the most famous you've all seen down at the town hall, the ginkgo, and that was way back in 2001. And then these honey locusts are in downtown Hartford. That was in 2002. And then these three, like black walnut. And time's up. Okay, what's the last slide? Nothing. That was the last slide? Whoa, killed it. All right.
Hi, folks. I'm John Reed. I'm chair of the Climate Action Steering Team for the town, and I'm going to make a few brief remarks and turn the microphone over to somebody who really knows what he's doing. The Climate Action Steering Team was formed back in 2022, and the reason it was formed by the Select Board was to provide guidance and encouragement for implementing the town's climate action plan. Now, the town's climate action plan is about that thick, and I'm not going to summarize more than half of it for you tonight. But what we do is we try to encourage events, and we work with the town's environmental sustainability coordinator, Dana Clausen, very closely, and with the Energy Commission. And we're trying to help the town achieve the objective of reducing its greenhouse gas emissions by 50% from 2022 to 2030. Sorry. And what we could really use some help with is putting together information that residents of the town can educate themselves on what we're trying to do and what they can help in the effort to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. So it's not something that's a 9-to-5 job. It's something that people fit into their I'd call it leisure time, probably, with a few exceptions. But it doesn't take a lot of time to do it. And we have a monthly meeting. We run it from 5 to 6, and it's fairly straightforward. Anybody can chime in or listen in or join in on Zoom. It's published by the town what the Zoom is, and please, if you're interested, please tune in and come and help us. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dana Clausen and let him really educate you.
In 2 minutes or less. So, yeah, as John mentioned, we have the Climate Action Plan. It covers a variety of stuff, from municipal actions to stuff with our buildings, stuff with transportation, health and safety, climate economy. We have a really great team. Right now, it's the Climate Action Steering Team. It has 7 seats. We have 6 folks that are helping with just a variety of different projects. Mostly people are taking things within their specialties and running with them. And it's really, like John said, to help us lower our greenhouse gas footprint, but also to work on resiliency issues. If you can hit the next slide. So like John said, this is from a 2023 study that I did with UNH, looking at the town's greenhouse gas emissions and where they're coming from, and just really identifying, which areas here can we actually address things. One of the most surprising things that I found out from this report was a huge amount of our emissions comes from our wastewater, and that's through the nitrous oxide produced through the natural process of things breaking down, and there's not really a solution for that. But, what we got to do is really find out where there is a, what areas can we find a solution for. And as John mentioned, if you can go to the next slide, we have a number of projects going on. We recently, the Climate Action Steering Team recently helped me bring the Nature Conservancy into town to do a community resiliency workshop. It was a one-day workshop where we worked with about 28 folks throughout town to help identify the issues facing the town, environmentally, both socially, health-wise, infrastructure, kind of very wide range. That is going to be used to springboard into the town's hazard mitigation plan, which is a FEMA-required document that the town needs to update this year. But I think through going through the Nature Conservancy process, we can really start to incorporate some climate awareness. So, we're doing styrofoam recycling, like John said. If you'd like to come and join us, we meet the 3rd Wednesday of the month at 5 o'clock. And I think that's time.
Yep. And for the Hartford Energy Commission, we will also see.
I'll start. I just want to make sure, I didn't catch you off guard. So I'm also here to speak on behalf of the trying to time myself. I'm also here to speak on behalf of the Hartford Energy Commission with the chair, Jesse Pollard. The Energy Commission has a number of projects going on. You can hit the next slide. We do things like window dressers, which is where every October we put together a one-week build to build custom inserts for folks to put into your windows to cut down on drafts. We usually have around 100 volunteers that come out and help do this. We typically make around 225 inserts per year. We are currently in the organizing phase. So right now, if you're somebody that's good with a measurement tool, we need folks to go out to homes to help measure windows. Because like I said, these windows are custom made. We send the measurements to Maine. They send us the pieces. We spend a week putting them together, and it's a great program. They also do, Energy Commission also is doing things like the EV Expo this fall, which is going to be an EV demonstration of electric vehicles. One of the commissioners is a Dartmouth professor. She's doing a program called Culvert Crawlers, where students are going out to identify culverts and then put that information into an app so that they're geolocated. And the hope is, we just submitted an application with Dartmouth to get a grant to create an app so that residents can adopt a culvert and take a picture of it, write down any notes around it, and send it to DPW. And then Vermont Works for Women is a training we have coming up in September. It's a 7-week training for women in construction. It's free. It's in the evening on weekends. About a third of the women take it because they want to go into construction, a third take it because they want to learn how to do stuff in their homes, and a third take it to not be taken by contractors, honestly. Yeah. So that's coming up in the end of September. So if you're interested in that, let me know. And now I will turn it over to Jesse.
I'll speak. I don't know if I need the microphone.
Well, it's for the camera.
Oh, there's a camera here. Thank you.
Or jam.
All right. So, and I don't know, this isn't just me that needs to say this, because there are a lot of people in this room who have had something to do with the upcoming ground source heating project. Thank you. I'm going to go back a little bit in time. Probably about a few years ago, everyone was really concerned about renewable energy. We still are, and carbon emissions. But a lot of that conversation was focused on solar generation, renewable electrons, and there wasn't so much dialogue going on about how we're going to heat our homes and businesses in the winter, in the dead of night, when the sun isn't shining. So, okay, so we start thinking about what are the sustainable heating solutions that we should be thinking about in New England, in Vermont, and what are those applications locally? And so everybody in this room, I'm sure, is familiar with the disproportionately dense downtown development we have with the White River Junction downtown block. That also happens to be the center of energy for tourism coming in. People want to dine, people want to eat. And it also just so happens a key pillar of that downtown block, the Coolidge Hotel building, is probably overdue for some renovations. Yeah? I heard that. A lot of smart people in here. Does anyone actually know how long that building has been operating as a hotel?
That's the third structure, I believe. There's been 2 fires over the years.
Do you know when it was built? Well, I wasn't around for it, 1890s. I probably...
The fire was January 15th, 1925. Most of the building was being built between 1930 and 1933.
So I wasn't born then, but right? So I wasn't around then. But thinking about this, like if there's going to be a significant downtown development, right? That's gonna be more or less a once in a lifetime opportunity to make sure we get it right, right? Accessibility, transportation, sustainable heating, economic development, tax revenue. The town needs tax revenue. I don't know anybody who says we aren't concerned about that. So a big portion of the Energy Commission's time lately, and special shout out to Esme Cole in the back, who actually helped the state pass a bill allowing municipally owned thermal energy networks. 1 minute? All right. And so we actually got the National Renewable Energy Lab, Oak Ridge, scoped up to do a consulting agreement with us. And they scoped up essentially a feasibility study for what this could look like, how much it would cost, how many wells we would need. And now we actually have something that basically rubber stamped the idea. This is reality. This is practical, and it's obtainable. Now we just need to figure out the regulatory logistics and financing mechanisms. And if anybody wants to be involved with that, we would really love your help, especially if you're a lawyer. All right. Thanks, everybody. Who's next? Oh, yeah, get involved, please.
All right, we have Ben Fletcher with the Hartford Salamander team. And I forgot to mention, this whole mix and mingle was Ben's brainchild over a year ago, and he came to the Conservation Commission. I was like, I imagine people coming together and talking about cool projects that they're doing in Hartford, and we're like, yeah, that's really great. So anyway, thanks to Ben. So Hartford Salamander team.
I did not know that. Thank you. Hi, I'm Ben. I'm one of the volunteers involved in the Hartford Salamander team. This program exists because there's an amphibian migration. And so on the first rainy nights each spring, when the temperature is above 40 degrees, we wear these and headlamps. And we go out onto local roads and we pick up frogs and salamanders and we carry them across. We also count who we're encountering as we go. And we contribute that data to a pretty long-standing science project operated by the North Branch Nature Center. So in past years, we've operated an annual training hosted by the North Branch Nature Center. This year, we're hosting it. We've just established a date, and it's in a couple of Tuesdays, 7 p.m. March 18th, and that'll be hosted remotely. The main way to stay in touch with the Hartford Salamander team is through an email list. So if you're not on it already, send a note to hartfordsalamanderteam@gmail.com, and you'll get updates for when frogs and salamanders will be migrating. Plus, we do events a whole lot. This coming Sunday, we're going to be at Kilowatt Park. Each meetup is guided, so we have a birding, I want to call her an expert, but a birding expert's going to be there to teach everybody how to get into birding. She's very advanced, so if you're already pretty deep into that rabbit hole, come and share your favorite bird nerd thoughts, essentially. Yeah, so we help reduce roadkill of migrating frogs and salamanders, and we contribute data to a quite legitimate science project that's it's set up very similar to the projects that Dana mentioned earlier through the Vermont Center for Ecostudies. It's community science. So all of our excuse me, our volunteers collect different forms of data. The first thing we ever did was make a big map of where we were encountering the roadkill. At this point, we have nearly 100 spots mapped, and this map is on our website, hartfordsalamanderteam.org. If you know about a place where you're observing roadkill, please check if it's on the map already, because that will help us know whether or not volunteers are getting there. We'll be able to start keeping an eye on that spot, and just awareness of where it's happening is the first step, and then we can start the planning process. So an important point of contributing our data to the community science project is getting our spots officially on the North Branch map, and that takes an extra hurdle that we're going into detail about in the training. But yeah, why do they cross the roads?
Is there enough way?
That's the answer. That's deep. To get to the vernal pools. So, yeah. Every spring is a very short and very exciting breeding season. All of a sudden, we call them big nights, is when the movement happens. They get very big around here. Some years they're more of a trickle, a lot of small nights. Some years we have all of the activity in a single week, and it's really tiring. Two crossings worth knowing about in town are, you go back. The Upper Valley Aquatic Center is along Route 5, which is not the safest and most comfortable spot to be on a road in the dark.
Oh.
Yeah. All of this volunteering happens at night in the rain when visibility is not ideal. And that said, for different forms of crossings we have around town, we have some different strategies. The Route 5 spot, we have basically a sub-team of the Hartford Salamander team that goes there specifically. And they call out when cars are coming, and it's a whole thing. The other most important spot in town is actually Lily Pond Road. And because of the construction on Gate Street, that road gets a lot of traffic. And so if you live in the downtown on a rainy night coming up, I recommend to get out there. Again, we have a meetup this coming Sunday at Kilowatt Park. It's about birding. Every month we have a meetup on a different topic. So hope to see you on Sunday, and you can learn more about the Salamander team.
And we have Christian from the White River Partnership.
Thank you very much. My name's Christian. I'm the program coordinator at the White River Partnership, and excited to talk to you all tonight about some opportunities to volunteer and what we do. So the White River Partnership is a small nonprofit. We have our office up in Royalton, and our goal is to, through community efforts, improve the long-term health of the White River. And our vision is that through that collective effort, we'll have a cleaner river, we'll have better habitat, and we'll have increased flood resiliency. So that's what we're working towards every year with all the projects that we do. So what do we do? We have a bunch of different projects that we partake in every year to try and move forward that vision. We plant a bunch of trees, we collect water quality samples, we remove flood debris, and we improve river access. Go to the next one. We also have education programs. We work with a lot of local school children, and we do really fun things like take kids snorkeling in the White River, which is one of the best things we do. And in some way, we try to engage with at least every student at some time in their progression through school in the White River. We collect water bugs, and unfortunately, what we do a ton of is remove a lot of trash and tires from the river. We also have some bigger projects that we do every year. We remove dams, we replace culverts, we do floodplain restorations, as well as some big assessment projects. We crawl through a bunch of culverts every year. I crawled through, I think, like 150 last year. We do a bunch of fun assessment projects like finding beavers and trying to improve beaver habitat. So we have a lot of cool projects that we do. And this year coming up, we have a floodplain restoration that we're going to do as one of our big projects, and we have a dam that's hopefully going to come out on the second branch of the White River, and also one we're working on the first branch. So those are some of our bigger projects that we have coming up this year. So hopefully this gets shared around, but we have a bunch of different ways to get involved, and I'm going to highlight some of the core ones today, but you can always go to our website, and we have resources on how to get involved and be part of the White River Partnership community. So one of the best ways to get involved is to be part of our water quality monitoring program. And every year we monitor, it used to be 22, we're bringing it down to 16 sites across the White River, and we use volunteers to monitor these sites. We may have some openings this year. We'll find out if all our volunteers are coming back. So we may have a few openings for volunteers to physically go out and collect water quality samples. But even if you're not collecting them, a great way to get involved is to get on our list where we post our water quality sample results every other week. And if you get on that list and you share it with the local community, it's a great way to get involved, because we're really gearing this program now to be a kind of like a public service announcement to let everyone know when it's safe to recreate in the White River. Another great way, that's a really easy way to get involved, we have a Google form that allows you to report trash dumps. One of our biggest challenges is just understanding where some of these trash dumps are. A lot of people might be familiar with our local swimming spots. You'll see daily trash there, like cigarette butts and cans, and that's unfortunate, but we're doing pretty good tackling that. But there's also these massive dumps that we've been finding across the watershed, whether it's tires or sofas or people putting their daily trash. And so one of my goals is to inventory that, and then when we have resources and volunteers that come out, I can send people to some of the bigger trash dumps. So we have a Google form to report that, and if you get on our email list or go to our website, that's available. And it's super easy. If you're driving on the road, you see a trash dump, you can put it in the Google form and it'll come to us. Green Up the White's a great way to get involved. I think a lot of you know the Green Up Day. We use Green Up Day to mobilize people to different river access sites instead of the normal roads that they clean up, and utilize the services that towns are providing for removing the trash. So we send people out, and it's kind of our way to clean up the White River at the start of the season. You can become a water trail steward, which is our monthly program to collect trash, and we have stewards adopt a site. We have a bunch of sites available, and if you talk to me today, I can point out some sites that are available, or if you follow us on social media, we post different sites that become available based on volunteers, and it's a monthly program to visit sites, collect trash, and report what's going on these sites, and it's kind of our way to have volunteers be the eyes and ears of the White River. We have some maps here for the water trail. Come check it out. It's a great way to learn about the river, and I have some maps, and you can grab one and keep it in your car. It's a great way to be involved and just learn about the river. Here are all the sites that we have that you can recreate on the White River. And the last thing I just want to highlight is that we have a Sweep Up the White event in September, and it's an event at the end of the season. It's kind of like the Green Up starts the season, Sweep Up ends it, and it's a great way to get out and take any trash out before snow comes in. And if you're interested, you can give me your email and I'll put you on the list for that. So follow us on social media, that's the best way, or give me your email, and I hope to see some of you out collecting trash and swimming in the river. Thanks.
And we have Cassie from the Upper Valley Land Trust. I'm going to have you stand right here.
Okay.
And here's your...
Thank you. I will try my best to stay in one spot. Hi, everyone. My name is Cassie. I work at the Upper Valley Land Trust. I am the Stewardship Programs Coordinator. So I work on our events. I also manage and coordinate our volunteer program. So I'm going to try my best in 5 minutes to tell you all about the Upper Valley Land Trust. So we are a nonprofit land trust that helps people in all throughout the Upper Valley conserve land. So I have our mission statement up there. And basically, so we provide conservation leadership and tools to help permanently conserve working farms, forested ridges, wildlife habitat, water resources, trails, scenic lands that are key to the health and sustainability of the Upper Valley. So just a little bit. So in case you're not aware, this is the service area of the Upper Valley. So we go as north as Rygate and as south as Charlestown, New Hampshire. I did put a star where we are tonight. And so we have all of the land that we conserve on both sides of the Connecticut River. Thank you. So our organization has been around since 1985. This year is our 40th anniversary. And so since then, we have conserved over 525 properties. And 42 conservation areas that we own and stored throughout the Upper Valley. So in total, that's about 57,000 acres conserved. And on those properties, we have about 58 miles of trail. It's over 200 miles of trail. We have 58 conserved trails. And then we also manage 9 Connecticut River campsites that are all along the river. And then we also have a food pantry garden program, and since 2019, we have donated over 12,000 pounds of food to hunger relief programs all throughout the Upper Valley. So how can you get involved? There's a few different ways with our volunteer program. So one of them, I just mentioned our food pantry gardens. So we have 2 food pantry gardens, one in Norwich, Vermont, which is not too far from here, at our Brookmead Conservation Area. And then we have one down in Charlestown, New Hampshire, and at our Up on the Hill Conservation Area. And so it is fully managed by myself and a group of volunteers. We host weekly work days, and the tasks involve from planting and weeding and standard bed maintenance and harvesting, which is always the most fun. And all of the food that we grow at our Norwich garden, we donate to Willing Hands. And then all the food that we grow down in Charlestown, we donate to the Charlestown Food Shelf and also the Claremont Soup Kitchen. Thank you. So our campsite program is we have 9. Like I mentioned, we have 9 campsites along the Connecticut River, and they're all managed by volunteers. So we have volunteers that go out there starting in May. The season goes throughout October, and basically help with camp maintenance, making sure that there's not a ton of trash left behind. So volunteers are usually going out there a few times throughout the season. Yeah, thank you. And so we also have a trail adopter program. So in this program, we have volunteers help us clean up the trails with blowdowns, keep them open. We often host open volunteer work days on trails to help us build bog bridges and any larger volunteer any larger trail projects. We also have a volunteer easement monitor program. So if you're someone who likes to go out in the woods, but you want to take the road less traveled and explore some conservation land, we hold a training every year, and we basically train you to be able to go out and visit one of our over 525 conservation easements, and basically monitor the property and make sure that they are in compliance with their easement. And usually there's no issues, and it's just a nice day out on a nice property, and sometimes you get to walk out with the landowner, which is always fun, and the properties vary from farmland to forested land, which is really great. So I mentioned that we do host a training every year, and it's actually next week if you're interested. We're doing it in 2 parts, so we'll have a Zoom training on Wednesday night. And then an in-person training that Saturday on the 15th to be able to get on-the-ground training. So if you're interested in that or any other aspects of our volunteer program, feel free to come over and talk to me, and I love talking about them. Thank you.
Quiet and Nobuck. I'm Earl Hatley. I'm an enrolled citizen of the Abenaki Nation of Missisquoi. I'm on the Resilient Hartford Council and also on the board of Otaquiche Water Protectors Association. So I'm going to be talking about both in 5 minutes, so I've got to go fast because I talk slow. Resilient Hartford has a project at the Clifford Park in West Hartford on the White River. And this is what it looked like before we started, just an open pasture with very poor soil, so not much grows well there. And so we thought it'd be a great place to do a food forest. And that was the original plan. We'd do a food forest out there. We'd plant trees and guilds around the trees and make a walkway. And the idea was to raise food for the local community. They could go out and graze, and that would help with food resilience. It was a food resilience project. How did that happen? I punched that one.
Yeah. There we go.
See, you set me up. I know that. Yeah, I can see that now. Yeah, Earl, go ahead. So this is a map that we originally drew about how we were going to plant trees and gills around the trees and have a nice walkway and information and along the riparian. On the left is the White River and the riparian area next to it. And so, these are some of the goals of the project, which are, providing food and land stewardship and, a place for the community and share knowledge and skills about how we set all this up. And so a hands-on thing, and it's all done through volunteers. So folks living around the park and in the community show up, and we have work days, and we've accomplished quite a bit, although we've had some setbacks. Why does it do that? There we go. So this is an idea of what we were doing with the food forest, is planting a tree like a peach or a plum, which seems to be growing best out there right now. And then other plants around it, gill plants, smaller shrubs and herbs and berries around the tree. So it'd really be a food forest. And this is what it looks like now. That first picture, you saw, really bad soil, which it really is because it had been wiped out by flood. And because of the flood regulations, we're not allowed to bring in compost or topsoil for this project without taking an equivalent amount of soil out. Weird regulation, but so what we're doing is we're building the soil slowly through cover crops and then chopping and dropping those and more growing up, and we're creating compost that way and composting the soil. And just in a couple of years of doing that, this is what it looks like now. It's really improved the soil conditions and, of course, the species variety out there. And this is, a work day where we were just first getting started planting trees. This is one of the guilds that we have planted, a peach tree with, plants all around it, and that's what it's looking like now. And over on this side of the fence where the horseshoe pitch was, we were going to do an Abenaki garden there, a traditional garden, Three Sisters garden. And then a flood wiped out everything that we had done up to that point, and we realized, no, that's not a good place to do that. So we're using it for cover crop right now, and we're just chopping and raking all that up and piling it up and making compost pile from this. And so that's how we're generating compost on site, and that's been really helpful. At some point, I would like to plant that in sweetgrass to honor the Abenaki garden that was originally going to be there. And this is kind of going around setting up an area for cover cropping. We till around, and then we plant the mix seeds of flowers and plants, that legumes and others that are help building the soil around it. And there's another view of it looking toward the barn that's on the site, where we're actually using the roof of the barn to collect water that's going into a tank inside, so that we can use that water to water, because we don't have a water source there. And there's a familiar face. One of the things that's in the mix that we're planting is radishes, and so we couldn't help ourselves but to pull up one of those big radishes to have a good look at it. So Rachel, is showing off on that one. Yeah. So that's the Clifford Park food forest. Because of the flood, we've changed how we're going to do it. We're concentrating on the riparian area. We saw how the flood washes across there, so we're going to start a riparian area to filter the water before it hits the area that I showed you, and also along the river. So we're turning it, that riparian area is going to be an Abenaki food forest riparian area. So we're using plants that are important to Abenaki that also work as a riparian buffer. And so that's where we're at right now with that project. But we still have plum and peach trees that are growing and producing, and other plants around them in the gills. The other project that I'm doing is through an organization called Otoquiche Water Protectors Association, and we have two other board members here, John and John, and so it's at the mouth of the gorge. Most folks don't know that Otoquiche is an Abenaki word for our place where the land falls, and that's our word for the gorge. And so our project is at the base of the gorge, which is ancient Abenaki site. And we're planting the Three Sisters out there. That's the main part of the project, to grow food for needy Abenaki families in the Upper Valley, and also my band, the Missisquoi, and the traditional Coastic band here. So this is what we're planting out there in the garden. It's been a long project, but last year was our first harvest. And also we're doing a food forest for a riparian buffer along the marsh, which borders our project. The project is in the polo field in Quechee at the corner of Main and Dewey Mills Road at the far south end by the marsh. And that's what it looked like when we started, except for the plastic that I had put down there to start composting the Three Sisters garden. But that was what we started out with. And to the right where the tree is, that's the edge of the marsh. And so it's all volunteers. We have work days to do all this work. We start out by gathering in a circle with a prayer and introductions, and then we divide up into teams. And so this is some of the activities. Planting some of the trees. These were elderberries that this family was planting. We've got white oak, elderberry, and butternut out there right now, and so we want to increase that. We also have a fire circle where we can sit around, tell stories, sing songs, dance, and educate folks to Abenaki culture. And this spot is an ancient agricultural site for Abenaki going back thousands of years. This is the crop last summer in an early stage. The Three Sisters garden, corn, beans, and squash. The beans grow up the tripods with the corn in the middle, and the squash grows out and fills in the area in between so we don't have to weed. So after about mid-July, the weeding is done. Through volunteerism, we built that fence around the 1 acre plot that we have. That was quite an endeavor, but we got it finished up early last spring. And so now the area is fenced and the deer aren't eating our crop anymore, at least not yet. And so this was the squash harvest. Got a lot of volunteers out because we had a ton of squash. And
2 times, wasn't there?
4 actually.
4 times?
Yeah. And these are the beans, the cranberry beans, some of the squash. There was a great big one there, and then some of the corn. We had a squash, 25 pounds it weighed out. This is Abenaki corn that we grew. About a third of it was red, 2/3 yellow. And it turned out to be very big, long ears, really nice corn. This was the first harvest. When you saw that picture that day, we filled up my pickup, and I have a full-size pickup bed, and it was filled to the top. I counted them as I unloaded them, 184 squash. They're in one load. My truck was like, are you sure about this? Yeah. And then we kept harvesting squash all together, about 225 squashes out of last year's crop, plus 80 ears of corn and about 10 pounds of beans. Also have a complimentary garden at my place where I'm also doing the same thing. We have seeds that are gifted from Abenaki growers and the bands, and here's a little handful of this and a little handful of that, so I'm having to work to grow it out so that we can increase the food stock with the goal of being able to give away seeds to Abenaki growers and ultimately to everybody that wants to grow them. So I'm using volunteer gardeners to help me plant more gardens with some of the seeds that I have so that we can really increase the cultivars that we have of all of these plants. That's our board of directors, and we have a website, abenakigarden.org, where you can go and see our film and see a lot more pictures and also volunteer. Resilient Hartford, get on their website and volunteer for our work days with the Clifford Park project. Katsivalini, thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Kent of Tilling Radish fame, as we just saw in the last slideshow. And I'm presenting tonight about the Hartford Hub, which is made up of a number of different grassroots organizations focused on food systems resilience. And I'm going to zoom in on 2 of them. Can we go back actually really fast? So the first is Upper Valley Apple Corps, which is an organization that grows free for the picking fruit and nut trees all across the Upper Valley, from Tunbridge all the way down to Windsor. We've got about 70 different trees. Most are on public lands, so think town halls and libraries, but if you are on private lands. And the goal of these trees is to be a gathering place for people to come to tend to them and have workshops and learn how to take care of the land in this way, to provide food for the community, whether it's folks just passing by who take the fruit and eat it, or also connecting with different food relief organizations, and also building out solidarity economies so people are able to partake in feeding each other in sort of an alternative fashion than, shopping and commerce. And yeah, I think next slide, please. Apple Corps got its start in 2010 with the Raspberry Revolution, which I wanted to shout out because it was right here in Hartford. Many of our plantings actually are concentrated around Hartford and Lebanon, sort of in the core of the Upper Valley. But there's this event that attracted over 70 volunteers, and the whole idea was to plant raspberry plants. And there was, with such an outpouring of support, folks felt that they were really striking a chord and thought there was something there with this idea of planting free for the picking fruit and nut plants in public spaces. And so from that was born Apple Corps, to do this kind of in a more structured and resourced way. And next slide. So No problem. Yeah. And so we're still kicking today. This was a pruning workshop we hosted in front of the Hartford Town Hall just about 2 weekends ago. And there are actually 4 fruit trees, 2 pears, 2 apples in front of the Hartford Town Hall. And then there's 2 trees that are by the playground in the back. And so yeah, we had a great turnout. People learned how to prune trees, and we also put that to practice on some of our trees. And this also kicked off something we're really excited about this year, which is a tree care brigade in which 8 folks are stipended to take care of a number of our different trees that are all spread across the Upper Valley, and to prune them, to check on them in the summer, and then to coordinate harvest in the fall. And this is just a map that illustrates where some of our plantings are, the more public ones. We're open to partnering on new plantings, so if you know of a piece of land that could use fruit or nut trees, let me know. We'd love to chat more about it and what that partnership might look like. Next slide. So another project that is part of the Hartford Hub is the Hazelwood Forest Garden and Riverwalk, which Birdie Emerson lives right next to, so is a main steward of. This abuts Ratcliffe Park here in White River Junction. Next slide, please. So yeah, actually this map shows it. Ratcliffe Park is here in the blue, and then the sort of like orange trails above that are the Riverwalk and Forest Garden. We actually have a map back at our table that shows all the different plantings. There's like dozens of trees and shrubs that are fruit and nut producing all across the area. So these are public-private walking trails. And next slide, please. The long-term vision for Hazelwood is to create this flourishing edible landscape, but also to have wheel-friendly, accessible walking paths. We're looking to partner with organizations like perhaps Bugbee and also the VA, who may work with folks who have mobility assistance devices like wheelchairs, to be able to get people out into nature and also connecting with community. That's something that Birdie is really passionate about, especially, so talk to her about that. And something that I think is really cool to note is that this site used to be a former dumping grounds and has transformed into this really amazing, vibrant food forest. So I think it just kind of shows what's possible with time and great care. Next slide. So if you're interested in joining some of our work, we have an Earth Day, well, it's not happening on Earth Day proper, but I guess Earth Week Fest happening at Hazelwood on Saturday, April 26th. We're going to kick it off at 2 p.m. with a guild planting workshop, which Earl very nicely illustrated what guilds are. We planted a bunch of fruit and nut trees last year, and so we're going to come back in and plant some beneficial plants around them. At 3 p.m. we'll have a work party, and then at 5 p.m. the fun will carry on with community potluck and bonfire. And I have little handouts at the table with the date and information about that. Yeah, and so if you're interested in getting involved, there's so many ways to plug in. These are just 2 of the projects that are part of the Hartford Hub. But there's many more. We do things like workshops and work parties and harvests. You can email uppervalleyapplecorevermont@gmail.com to join the mailing list. And then next slide, please. Zooming out, the Hartford Hub also just got a really awesome brand new website. And if you go to the About tab, you can learn about some of the other amazing projects, in fact, which the Ottaquechee Water Protectors Association is one of those. And there's others as well, Upper Valley Seed Savers, many others. So please visit the website. That's hartfordhub.org. And that's all. Thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm the most recent member on the Conservation Commission. We are a municipal advisory board that is made up of local volunteer residents. So we're really passionate about conservation and stewardship here in Hartford. Before it showed a list of our members, and here's our stated mission. Essentially, one of our primary goals is to provide or connect Hartford residents with environmental education opportunities that foster environmental stewardship. And we are also charged with understanding and managing our conservation properties here in Hartford. Most notably is the Hartford Town Forest. I'm sure most of you know about it. It's a large parcel between Quechee and White River with a vast array of multi-use recreational trails for wildlife viewing and hiking, and even mountain biking and snowmobile use on designated trails. And it serves a very important ecosystem service role for our community. Then we also have the Manawaka Conservation Area and the David Chang Conservation Area, but we'll just go quickly. Okay. So let's just focus on programs. That's the good stuff. So in the Hartford Town Forest, we do natural history walks with Ted Levin. He's a commission member who does winter ecology walks. And birding walks. We have a birding walk scheduled for May 17th. I think he said he was going to be there at 5 a.m. But for those who don't want to get up that early, maybe I'll come later if you want to bird with me later in the morning, and we'll try and find him. And then we have Family Forest Frolics. Another conservation member holds these every single month, every second Saturday of the month. She takes out children and their families and does a vast array of naturalist topics. She has one tomorrow about sugaring. You can keep going. We do vernal pool walks. We host those at the forest we partner with Vermont Center for Ecostudies. We have one, hopefully we have tentatively one for April. That'll go out Vital Communities. Okay, on the listserv. If you're part of that listserv, you can find out about it there. We also have worked closely with the county forester for years. He helped us do our formal management plan, and he does forestry walks. We have a new county forester, Dan Healy, who said he would continue the tradition and continue to provide these, so that's also TBD. We also work with the Hartford Area Career and Technology Center. We allow the natural resource class to take a small amount of timber in a sustainable way, in a way that reduces environmental impacts, and the hope is that we are creating stewards in these young children here in our community. And we partner with Upper Valley Mountain Bike Association. There's a National Trails Day. It's on June 7th this year, and we're going to have a trail work day. So that is our big volunteer event. So if we have an ask, that's the ask, is we're looking for volunteers for that. There's a barbecue to follow. We do a story walk with Quechee Library. Hopefully we'll do that again this year. You can keep going, Katie. Going quick. And then moving out of the town forest around Hartford, we have a bunch of partnerships. We help with Green Up Day. We do pollinator garden. We did a pollinator garden last year at the White River School. We hope to do more of those around Hartford if we can find partners. And we help White River Partnership with their Sweep the River Clean. Here's all our events if you want to take a screenshot. They're also over at the board. I tried to go quick. Thank you. I hope I didn't talk too fast. 3 minutes.
All right. And that, without further, yes. So now is our time to mingle. I want again to give a shout out to Jam and also all 12 of our presenters. Thank you for putting all of the time and effort into the presentation and for bringing your materials. So now, if you just want to get more refreshments and talk to each other and get signed up on these wonderful listservs, we also should have some more cheat sheets which have all the presenters' names and their websites. But if you want to sign up directly, you're welcome to. And thank you all for coming.